This is our virtual scheme tour of a sheltered housing scheme. You can see here this is a fairly standard suburban sheltered housing scheme. You've got the main block in front of you, and then you can see over on the right hand side what they call the Muse properties. So they're bungalows that people can stay in if they don't need quite so much support, but they can still use the facilities inside the main block. You can see there's a fairly small car park because generally it was assumed that most of the people living in these sorts of properties wouldn't have cars. So this is the door entry system for the sheltered housing scheme. Obviously it's very important that access to the scheme is controlled. Some of the people here might be vulnerable and we don't want people just being able to wander in and out. So you've got a keypad here. If somebody's visiting a flat and they know the flat number they're going to, they can press the flat number and then call, and that will put them through to the person in the flat who can then open the door remotely for them. If you come and you don't know which flat you're going to, or you're coming for general purposes, you can press the warden button and then call, and that will go through to the warden and she will then speak to you and let you in. The residents, to save them having to do that, they actually have a key fob and they swipe that over this button here, and that will allow them access straight away. Some regular callers to the properties will also be given what they call a trade code. So at certain times of the day they're able to punch in a code and that will release the door for them as well. If when you come here the warden's off site and you press the warden call button, you'll actually go through to the control centre.
Manager, please.
When the control centre answer, they'll usually ask for a password to allow you access.
They're at the door. This is Kira from Centra. How can I help?
Hi Kira, it's Karen from Centra. If you have a look on the screen, there should be a password.
Yep, could you give me the password, please?
Yeah, the password is training.
Right, sorry that took so long. I'll just let you in now.
Lovely, thanks Kira.
Door open. Please enter. Door should be opening for you now. Bye-bye.
So once you come into the sheltered housing scheme, usually the first thing that you see is the warden's office over here, and also the call point for the warden here as well. So if the warden's on site and in her office, obviously that will go through just inside there. If she's not on site, then it will come through to us in the control room. This one is slightly different, this scheme, in that rather than having a big key safe, this one actually has a key safe here, which will give you access to the office, and then the keys are all held in the office. If you needed to call the fire brigade out to the scheme at all the schemes will have a plan in the entrance hall of the scheme, showing you what's where on the scheme, and also showing the corresponding zones for the fire panel as well. The fire panel is over here, up here on the wall, so if the fire alarm were to go off, then the zones are here and it will show you which area of the building is actually alarmed, and there's also some fault code lights and things like that on the panel as well. So if somebody comes through and tells you that they think there's a problem with the fire panel, always ask them if they can see any lights lit up and ask them what the text is next to the light and everything as well. So this is a remotely operated key safe. There's a call point next to it, so if somebody needed access to this key safe, they would press the call point, the call would then go through to the control centre and would come up on your screen as a key safe, and then you would usually have a password or something like that that you'd need somebody to quote. Then you would click to open the key safe on your screen and the door would pop open.
Hello, the key safe. It's Helen from Centra. Can I help?
Hello, it's Karen White from Centra. Can you open the key safe for me, please? The password is training. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great, Karen. I'll open it now.
Thank you.
I should have opened.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye.
So inside the key safe, as you can see, there's a bit of space here where you can put various keys. Most of the flats in the schemes tend to be master suited, so there'll be a master key that will open every flat door. Some people, obviously, if they've had to have their locks changed or something, may need individual keys as well. Often in the key safe there'll be keys to things like the fire alarm, the boiler room and things like that, although some schemes do have a separate contractor key safe as well. There'll be a key for the office door as well if we needed to get in there when the scheme manager wasn't around. And obviously, as you heard on the film there, the operators will only open the key safe if there's a password or for the emergency services. Inside the warden's office, this is the panel that's attached to the warden call system, and this panel will show the last 100 events that have happened on the system. So any calls that have been put through, any times the door's been opened, whether it's been opened with a fob or a code, or whether we've opened it at the control centre, any problems with the system as well, it will show faults and things like that as well. So the warden's able to see, even when she's not here, she's able to see exactly what's been going on. In order to go off-site, she has to put a code in on the panel and then that will actually put the system off-site or on-site. But she will obviously need to call through for her messages as well when she comes on-site. This is the handset that the warden has, so if she's on-site, any of the calls that are activated can be answered on this handset. As you can see, it looks a little bit like an old-fashioned mobile phone, and she can pick up the call and speak to the resident or somebody at the door on this handset. And also on her desk she has a phone where she's able to pick up the calls there as well if she's sitting at her desk. So from the entrance hall we come through into the lounge. As you can see, there's sort of two areas in this one with some sofas and everything, and then round the corner some more like sort of dining tables as well. There's also a door that goes out into the garden. That's one thing to remember, obviously, that when the residents press their pendant, if they're out in the garden or down here in the lounge, obviously it will still come through as though the call has been activated in their flat. So we may not be able to get voice contact with them in the flat because actually they're out in the garden or down here meeting up with their friend. This is the kitchen for the scheme, so they've got some facilities here, ovens and microwaves and things which they can use. Make themselves a coffee when they come downstairs, or if there's any social events going on in the scheme as well. As you can see on the ceiling there is a smoke detector, and that will be linked through to us at the control centre. So this is the laundry for the residents on the scheme to use. They usually have a rota, so people have a time slot on a particular day when they can actually use the laundry. We get quite a lot of calls about washing machines breaking down and people's washing getting stuck in them and things like that. And then you can see that there is a call point here in the laundry as well, so if anybody has any problems like that, obviously they can pull the cord and come through and tell us. So this is the assisted bathroom that residents on the scheme can use. People who are not able to bath themselves, who might have carers who come in and help them, and you can see there's a hoist in the bath. There is a pull cord in this bathroom, but unfortunately on this scheme, the voice module for this actually comes through in the laundry. So again, if you get a call from the laundry, it could be in the laundry or it could actually be in here. So these are the post boxes for the residents who live in the scheme. There's no main letterbox on the front door at all, so the postman will have to be given access and then he will have to come in and actually put the mail for each individual resident into the post boxes. Some postmen will have a password set up at the main door. Some postmen use the trade code, but if not, our usual practice is that we ask for several names and numbers that he's got post for so that we can verify that on the scheme list, and then we let him in and he can put the mail in here for them. By the post boxes, you can see that there's a couple of communal toilets here that the residents can use if they're in the lounge attending any functions or anything. On this scheme, if a call is activated in the loo, there's actually no speech module in there, so the voice will actually come out of the call point in the lounge. So if you get a call from the toilets or from the lounge, you need to just check them and make sure that somebody checks both areas. So this is the corridor that leads to all the main flats within the scheme, and you can see all the doors just going off it. There is a first floor on this scheme as well, so there's a couple of staircases that go up to the flats above. There are call points down the corridor as well, so obviously if anybody got into trouble they could activate a call point down here as well, and it should tell you that it's in the corridor. So this is the lift for the scheme. As you can see, there's a call point on the side here to actually call the lift and open the doors for you. And then if you come inside the lift, you can see obviously you've got the button here to press it to go up as well. But you've also got the emergency button here, and that's fairly low down, and I think that's why we get a lot of no response calls in lifts, because it's very easy, as you can see the lift's quite small, and it's very easy to accidentally knock that with a shopping bag or a walking frame as you're getting in and out of the lift. There's also a call point up here as well where you can press if you need to speak to somebody as well. So this is a typical one-bedroom flat in a sheltered scheme. As you can see, there's a little hallway, and the call point for the property is inside the hallway here. So this explains why sometimes when we get a call from the flat, you may not be able to get voice contact, because possibly the resident will be round in the kitchen or in their bathroom, but of course the voice box here is in the hallway. Also above us is the smoke detector, which would call through to the control centre as well. Have to remember that sometimes residents do put other smoke detectors, battery operated ones, in their property. So if somebody says to you that their smoke detector is making a noise, always check whether it's the hardwired one or the battery operated one. Then from the hall you go through into the lounge. And then you can see over by the window there's another pull cord, so obviously if the resident's in the lounge and needs to summon help, they've got the pull cord there by the window. But the speech module for that is obviously still the one in the hallway. And then through into the little kitchen.